Hello, everyone. My name is Ezra, otherwise known as E-Soup, and today we are finishing Volume 2, which I am so excited about. We are reading chapters 71 to 75, and there's a link to trigger warnings in the description if you need it. So, how are we feeling as we approach the end of the volume? Hi, Vase of Peonies. I I am so curious where the book is gonna go today. I wonder how the ending is gonna be, if we're gonna get like a cliffhanger or it's gonna end at a chill point. Um, Thankfully, if we get a cliffhanger, we won't have to wait too long, but I kind of hope that we come to some sort of like resolution point. But we're in the middle of some stuff happening, so I wonder if there's enough time to clear that up by the end of the book. Um, Hi Nina. Like, what was happening? We were, Shi Hong Xuan brought a whole bunch of people to attack Shenzi Chuan. And yeah, Vase of Peonies, exactly. I need answers. I feel the same way. Um, there are so many questions that I need answers to. I'm sure that there's going to be even more questions by the end of this. And we're about to start a chapter called Trap. I was saying last time, I wonder if Shi Hong Xuan trapped Shenzi Chuan or if Shenzi Chuan actually trapped Shi Hong Xuan. There's like some ambiguity there, especially with the way that Shenzi Chuan is so sneaky about everything. So maybe he was ultimately the one who set the trap. Um, I guess we're gonna find out. But yeah, how are y'all doing? Um, I also just can't believe, I mean, I feel like I say this every single time, but I can't believe that we're already here at the end of another volume. Um, like we've already read almost 2 volumes of Chang Jinzhou, and I feel like I just started. Um, yeah, so far so good. So far I am good today too. Days of Peonies pretty good today, but it's cold and windy. It's it's been a little bit cooler here, but I'm very thankful for that. I'm liking the weather because I live in the South in the US, so it's normally really hot. So it kind of is finally starting to cool down, and I needed that. Blue, you were you were distracted looking for something very gay. I I love that. That's totally acceptable reason to be distracted. No, you got to have your priorities, exactly. Um yeah, I let's see. There are 4 people here right now. Um I guess I'm going to wait like another minute-ish and then we'll get started. Oh, hi Henry. Hi Gay. Thank you. I was just talking about the weather, but like I guess as soon as it starts getting cooler out, I start feeling like actually wearing fashionable things. Like I put more time into my clothes because I'm not about to go outside and just like immediately feel sweaty and gross. So I don't know. It just something about the weather getting cooler just like hits me and I'm like, "Oh, I can dress myself better now." Vase, I'm from Texas but have lived in the Northeast a long time now. Never got used to the cold. but I can't take the heat either anymore. I do get that because I don't really like being cold, but I think I prefer cooler weather to hot weather because it's like at least I can do something about it. Like at least I can put on more layers. Um, so it's like I don't like extreme temperatures, but like I like having some level of control. Yeah. Yeah, Nina, I'm with you on that. I just yeah, I don't want to be sweaty. um so everybody, we're about to finish volume 2 and we are on page 347 for chapter 71 called Trap. It was so quiet one could hear a pin drop. Hands braced on the chair's armrests. Shi Hongshuan's next words cracked through the heart-stopping tension. Obscuring truth with falsehood. You're setting traps again. Shen Lanzhou, do you think I won't kill you? The blade is already at my neck. Shen Zichuan turned to look askance at one of the blades in question. You can give the command to take my head at any time. Shi Hongshuan didn't dare relax even a little. In this confrontation, he wasn't willing to miss the subtlest shift in Chen Zichuan's expression. Although he was sitting steady in the chair, deep down, he was more anxious than Chen Zichuan. Yet the more he warned himself against being influenced by him, the more he was taken in by the man's careful expression and tone. For whatever it's worth, we were brothers, Shi Hongshuan said with an insincere smile. Lanzhou, tell me the truth and I'll leave you in one piece. I'll talk. Kill me then. Shen Zichuan goaded him. Come on. Shi Hongshuan's fingers dug tightly into the armrests as he stared down Shen Zichuan, who was far too calm and composed. Aren't you worried about Qi Huilian? Once you're dead, I'll skin that old dog and sell him to the Empress Dowager as a bid for leniency. Hi, Anna. Henry, how is this glow stick still alive? That is such a good question. If you'd handed her Qi Huilian 20 years ago, she might have pardoned your negligence, said Shen Zichuan. Today, he's worth nothing alive, and even less dead. You're a veteran merchant. Would you really accept a losing deal like this? I think you've lost your mind, too. That fever must have addled your brain. Qi Huilian is feigning insanity, Shi Hongshuan said. You think I can't tell? He's at death's door, yet he's tucking his tail between his legs and struggling on. To survive, he's put on quite the convincing act. Shen Zichuan sneered. Oh, please. What do you expect me to say? He's just a lunatic. If he's a lunatic, whom are you studying under? The tendons in Shi Hongshuan's neck strained as he leaned forward. The temple of guilt transformed you into a new man. How did the last remnant of the Shen clan, who resembled a lapdog 6 years ago, become so fearless and resourceful, huh? Lanzhou, you tell me. Man proposes, heaven disposes. Shen Zichuan's expression was grim. You know what it's like being a lapdog at the beck and call of others, to be kicked around. If I don't shed my skin, how can I break free of my past and make it out there? I'd rather rely on myself than others. Look at us. You and I are both fleeing perilous circumstances. Yet now, even we are at odds. Shi Hongshuan, you're so eager to rid yourself of someone as soon as he's outlived his usefulness, like killing the donkey the moment it leaves the millstone. If you hadn't leaked my secrets, why did Ohua Pavilion collapse? We called ourselves brothers inside those walls, but the moment you step out, you stab me in the back. Of the two of us, who's more ruthless? Shi Hongshuan asked in a chilling voice. But as fate would have it, I didn't die. You want to play both sides, but there's no such thing as having your cake and eating it too. What can Xiao R give me that's worth this level of suspicion? Shen Zichuan asked sarcastically. He's not Xiao Jiming. He can neither become the Prince of Li Bei, nor command their armored cavalry. He's a trapped beast in Chudu. What's the difference between him and me? Whatever it is he has, I don't lack it. He has a good life that you don't, said Shi Hongshuan. He's the second son of the Prince of Li Bei, a legitimate and lawful heir, born to the same mother who birthed Xiao Jiming. Even if he can't inherit his father's title, he has tens of thousands of willing troops at his disposal. Aren't soldiers precisely what you lack? Indifferent, Shen Zichuan answered. I hold a post in the embroidered uniform guard. What do I need an army for? I can only survive within Chudu. There's nowhere else I can put my abilities to use. I'm the 8th common son of Shen Wei, while you are the 2nd lawful son of the Shi clan. Yet have either of us had a life of ease? There's no difference between lawful and common sons. When it comes to humans, even heaven can't reach a verdict until the end. Such treacherous words. You regard the social order of this world as nothing. Shi Hongshuan pointed to his feet. But you have to admit, some people are born to be masters. The succession, generation after generation, of the noble clans sustains that. This is fate. If there's no difference between those of common and lawful birth, how can a bloodline maintain its legitimacy? A Li is fundamentally a cut above a Shen. Shen Zichuan stared at Shi Hongshuan and broke into laughter. Insanity stirred in those expressive eyes as he said, That's right. That's right. For a split second, Qiao Tianya saw Shen Zichuan's murderous intent. He thought Shen Zichuan would draw his blade. He didn't expect him to continue in a genial tone. Well, if that's the case, then what future could I have following Xiao R? You believed the rumors and laid a trap to kill me today, but you will surely regret it in the future. Blue, what can Xiao R give me that's worth this level of suspicion? Really? Want to go there? Yeah. Same thought. Shi Hongshuan faltered, besieged by doubts, but his expression remained stony. He merely lowered his eyes. Even when faced with imminent death, you're a consummate actor. You came straight here from the Temple of Guilt. Isn't that proof enough that this place is important to you? Of course. Shen Zichuan's emotions seemed to have sunk into deep waters. Not even a ripple could be seen. This is Qi Huilian we're talking about. He's crazy now, but he's still the Qi Huilian who was the top scholar in all 3 levels of the imperial examinations, a man personally sought out by the crown prince of the Eastern Palace. Now that he's fallen into my hands, I won't hand him over to anyone else while he lives. Shen Zichuan was right. Shi Hongshuan was bluffing. He had no idea if Qi Huilian was genuinely insane or simply putting on an act. He merely wanted to catch Shen Zichuan off guard. Perhaps Shi Hongshuan wasn't as capable as Xue Xiuzhuo, but he possessed one unsurpassed ability, and that was eloquence. He could incite the Imperial College to rise in rebellion with a single tea-house meeting. All thanks to his silver tongue. Yet, this also happened to be his fatal flaw. If he were certain, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Shen Zichuan and Xiao Qiye were setting him up for a fall, he wouldn't have given Shen Zichuan the chance to open his mouth. He dragged his sickly body all the way here because he couldn't be sure. Shi Hongshuan had to put his skills to use in a battle of words, hoping to trick Shen Zichuan into telling the truth. "What do you want Shi Huilian for?" Shi Hongshuan asked warily. Shen Zichuan was suddenly struck with an idea. He bent over and said to Shi Hongshuan, "Qi Huilian was the crown prince's teacher. After the incident at the Eastern Palace, I heard there remained an imperial grandson, still an infant. Ji Lei didn't reveal the child's whereabouts to me before his death. I thought Qi Huilian might know, so I've kept close watch on him." A change came over Shi Hongshuan's countenance in spite of himself. The Empress Dowager would never leave survivors. It's common practice to stamp out trouble at its source. What are you daydreaming about? If there's no imperial heir in the wings, who would conspire to murder His Majesty? Shen Zichuan said. If he dies, there's nobody else surnamed Li in all the Zhou Empire. You didn't do it, and neither did I. Instead of falling out with me, why not lay down your sword and discuss countermeasures? Shi Hongshuan didn't move. How do I know it wasn't you? Save for myself, no one is more familiar with the structure of Ohua Pavilion. If anyone could tamper with it, it's you. Look how I encounter calamities one after another, yet you get promoted again and again. The list of your meritorious deeds is growing by the day. I've only just attracted His Majesty's favor. Now is the time for me to accumulate merits and climb my way up. Why on earth would I want him dead? Not to mention, you and I have been conspiring together for quite some time. What makes you think Xiao R would trust me based on some empty promises? Shen Zichuan's lips curved in a smile. If I were to kill you, it would be at a time when there's much more in it for me. He spoke half in jest, but at these words, the blood of those listening ran cold. Shi Hongshuan covered his mouth and coughed, using the motion to evade Shen Zichuan's gaze. Yeah, I think I'd want to evade that gaze, too. They had conspired to kill many people by this point, yet Shi Hongshuan still didn't have the courage to face Shen Zichuan head-on. This wasn't a momentary fear, but one accumulated over the course of their acquaintance. He could never forget the way Ji Lei looked, flayed alive. It was the same fear that spurred him to act quickly once his suspicions were roused. Shi Hongshuan thought, this man cannot live. When the time came, he had to kill him, no matter what. Such a man would certainly not let himself be used for Shi Hongshuan's own purposes. His talk of there being no difference between lawful and common birth already revealed his lack of proper reverence for the 8 great clans. Both of them were attempting the dangerous feat of bargaining with the tiger for its hide. It was only a matter of who would act faster in the days to come. Shi Hongshuan had made up his mind. He smiled back. I'm scaring you only because I was so scared after being crushed in that pit. Lanzhou, you'd understand if you had been the one lying there. What are you all waiting for? Sheathe your blades. Don't hurt the judge. The surrounding blades returned to their sheaths, one by one. Shi Hongshuan didn't tell his men to retreat from the room. Pulling his fox fur closer, he said, "Everything happened too quickly these last few days. We've had no communication. It's inevitable we would come to suspect one another. Everything is back in order now that we've cleared the air. Come, Lanzhou, take a seat, and we'll talk." "A naked blade can't distinguish friend from foe," replied Shen Zichuan. "Second young master, next time, give me some warning so I'll be better prepared to receive you." "You are remarkably composed in the face of danger." Shi Hongshuan lifted the teapot to brew the tea. "As you know, what we're doing could cost us our heads. I really was forced into a corner this time. Otherwise, how could I have treated you so?" I had no choice, I tell you. I got too anxious thinking how Xiao R will be happily riding the crest of success after this. Come, come, sit. Don't tell me you hold it against me. I, a man with the surname Shen, am unworthy of such courtesy. Shen Zichuan's eyes swept over the room. How would I dare to sit by your side? Shi Hongshuan guffawed. That was all bullshit. Words spoken to disparage others. How can you be the same as them? Take a seat. Only then did Shen Zichuan sit down. Shi Hongshuan held out the tea and said with an apologetic smile, "If you ask me, that surname Shen is really holding you back. Don't you think so? Had you been born in the Han clan or Fei clan, there wouldn't be this animosity between us. Lanzhou, don't be upset. Now tell me seriously, what are you keeping Qi Huilian for?" He should change his surname to Xiao. Blue. Shen Zichuan touched his sleeve pocket before he remembered his ivory fan was lost. The old loon was scared stiff when the crown prince slit his throat. When I was in the Temple of Guilt, I ran into him all the time and heard his ravings. I thought I'd keep him, in case of future need. You should have asked me about the imperial grandson. Shi Hongshuan brushed aside tea foam in his cup. Forget about it. It's impossible. No chance at all? Shen Zichuan turned the teacup gently in his hands. He didn't drink. Shi Hongshuan drank the tea and grunted twice. Ji Lei and Shen Wei carried out that task. They were ruthless. Even the fair and beautiful crown princess was strangled to death, and you've pinned your hopes on them having shown an imperial grandson mercy? After killing his father, they would have become sworn enemies of the child. You think they'd willingly sow seeds of future disaster for themselves? Is that what Shui Xiuzhuo said? Shi Hongshuan cast him a glance. Why are you bringing up Yan Qing now? An old friend, is he not? Shen Zichuan's gaze never faltered. It appears you know each other well. Weren't you promoted to the Bureau of Evaluations this time precisely because you listened to his advice? Both of you are master strategists. I listen to whoever makes more sense, Shi Hongshuan replied. They say scholars hold one another in low regard. Why are you smart people always belittling each other? That's not it, said Shen Zichuan. You were transferred into the Bureau of Evaluations, and subsequently, this sought-after review assignment fell to you. That would make anyone's eyes green with envy. It's hard to say this wasn't the reason you were set up. Shui Xiuzhuo has been an official for some years, yet he never thought of this possibility. Why did he persuade you to go? Shi Hongshuan lowered his cup. Even if that's the reason, who would have expected someone to strike out at me because of it? Yan Qing's not at fault. He rendered meritorious service by protecting the emperor at the Nanlin hunting grounds, yet he knew to conceal his abilities and bide his time. Instead of angling for a top position back then, he went to the court of judicial review to gain experience. Shen Zichuan smiled at Shi Hongshuan and let the matter drop. I just find it strange. Oh my. Shi Hongshuan smiled and said as if he hadn't heard him. This interruption almost made me forget. Lanzhou, now that I've recovered and His Majesty has awoken, the Chief Surveillance Bureau will certainly impeach me. Help me think of a way out of it. I can't be transferred away from Chudu. The fault lies with His Majesty, but no one will blame him. Both the Ministry of Works and Ministry of Revenue are already shirking responsibility. You've happened to land right in the middle, so you're a natural target. Shen Zichuan set his teacup aside. This will be tough to wiggle out of. Pan Xiangjie and Wei Huaigu, ha! At the end of the day, what they really want is money. A formal rebuke isn't a big deal. They're only targeting me because they want to take advantage of the situation, to make me cough up the funds to cover the hole this will leave in the budget myself. How many died this time? As long as His Majesty is unharmed, everything else can be bought. Without tens of thousands of taels, I'm afraid it'll be hard to settle this, Shen Zichuan replied with a smile. I have the money. Shi Hongshuan set his teacup down too, but I'm not willing to give it to them. I'm at fault for accompanying His Majesty to the brothel, but the public ditches are no business of mine. If they plan on using me as a scapegoat and slapping unreasonable demands on me, I won't be so obliging. An official even one rank higher can oppress an official beneath him. Shen Zichuan spoke calmly. You aren't in the wrong, but it will still become your fault. You can't reason with them, and you can't shift the blame. It's certainly a dilemma. It's not. I'm telling you, the Emperor's heart is with me, Shi Hongshuan said. Even if they want to punish me severely, they still have to wait for the Emperor's word. We mustn't lose our heads before Xiao R is dealt with. Trust me. When His Majesty wakes up, he'll be a changed man. Oh. That's the end of the chapter. Well. So, they're having a battle of wits. The one thing I got from this chapter, if anything, is, it sounds like Shi Hongshuan was the one who incited that, you know, the hunger strike from the scholars. Looks like he was the one who did that. But there's a lot of other implications going around in this chapter, too. Once again, you know, it sounds like that the Imperial grandson could still be alive, and I have no idea who it could be. Did we already know that? Did I know that and I just forgot? I might have just forgotten. I just remember when that happened being so like, no, wait a minute, who did this? And okay, maybe I just forgot. Oops. Yes, we met, yeah, I remember Yao Wen Yu. We met him there too, as well. Okay, well, my bad, I just forgot about that, but there's just, like, further confirmation. But, you know, the more we hear about it, the more it really sounds like Shen Zichuan's father might not be Shen Wei, but I don't know if that means that, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's a Li. He could be a something else. But there's just something suspicious about the way that keeps being brought up that I'm like, so Shen Wei, were you really his dad? You know, I don't know. So we are on page 357 for chapter 72, which is called Noble Title. Henry, now that I'm reading Guardian, Shenwei has me fucked up. That is how, like, all of us felt at the very beginning of this book. Like, the very first line, it's just like, whoa, Shenwei, excuse me. Blue. Anything is fine, just please don't be a Xiao. Oh god, yeah, no. We don't want that. He spoke with such certainty that Shen Zichuan cast him a sidelong glance. But Shi Hongshuan didn't elaborate. You don't have a proper residence now, so it'll be inconvenient to keep Qi Huilian around. Why not leave him with me? It's hardly appropriate to leave a raving lunatic at your place either, Shen Zichuan said evenly. What do you want him for? If you ask me, said Shi Hongshuan, holding his hand flat like a blade, it'd be best to finish him off. You don't want to get yourself involved in all those old affairs. The more you know, the worse off you'll be. Shi Hongshuan brandished his hand and looked at Shen Zichuan. Or are you unwilling? Of course I'm unwilling, Shen Zichuan said. He's an old minister from the reign of Yongyi. He knew Shenwei well. I have use for him alive. Had Shen Zichuan readily agreed, Shi Hongshuan wouldn't have believed him. He spoke with 7 parts truth and 3 parts falsehood to throw Shi Hongshuan off. As expected, Shi Hongshuan made no further mention of killing him. Are you still thinking of investigating Shenwei's case? You should have said so earlier. Lanzhou, do you have to go so far as to hide such a small matter from me? When did I hide it? Shen Zichuan smiled as he lifted the teapot and poured for Shi Hongshuan. Isn't it obvious? As long as Shenwei is guilty, I'll never be able to hold my head high. The evidence against him is conclusive, and his infamy has spread far and wide. Even if some extenuating evidence comes to light, it won't be enough to change the minds of the masses, Shi Hongshuan said. A treasonous act like betraying your country for personal glory can never be scrubbed clean, even over several lifetimes. Besides, relying on an imperial pardon is pointless. Rumors take on a life of their own. Shenwei has already been crucified under an ocean of spittle. I pity you. Of course I do. But I can only advise you to forget about this matter. There's nothing you can do to clear Shenwei's name. Shen Zichuan set down the teapot in silence. Sensing the heaviness of the atmosphere, Shi Hongshuan continued, You're already an embroidered uniform guard of the 5th rank, and you still take that slander to heart? No, you must look ahead. You've acquitted yourself well this time, so you can look forward to a promotion, yes? Nothing is confirmed, Shen Zichuan said. I barely settled in my post as Southern Judge. Charging to the top isn't necessarily a good thing. Right, we must act carefully. We're gambling with our lives here. Shi Hongshuan tucked his fox fur about him. Our first priority should be investigating this incident with Ohua Pavilion. Our enemy is hiding in the dark, while we are exposed in the open. If we can't get to the bottom of this, it will be hard to guard against them in the future. This time, I'm the one who got crushed. But what about next time? You should watch your back. I can't stay much longer today, Lanzhou. I'll see you at my residence in a few days. He rose to his feet and surveyed his surroundings again. This courtyard seems decent enough. If you need money, just ask. Don't take what happened today to heart, all right? Shi Hongshuan smiled. Shen Zichuan smiled, too. as if there was no ill will between them, as if what happened earlier was merely a harmless joke, and now the pair of them were reconciled. Certainly doesn't sound like the pair of them are reconciled. Ooh, vase of peonies. I still think Xiao Chuye's dad knows something. That, he does seem like he knows something. That's interesting. Yeah, I get that impression too. Chao Tianya saw Shi Hongshuan off. When he returned to the courtyard, he spied Shen Zichuan standing with his back to him, facing the main hall. He was wiping his hands with a handkerchief. The setting sun reached into the courtyard to cast its scarlet hue over Shen Zichuan's embroidered python robe. His bowed neck was fair as jade. He wiped those slender, flawless fingers. They were quite clearly clean, yet he seemed to detest them to bits. Shen Zichuan turned his head slightly. Is he gone? I saw him get into the carriage. Chao Tianya stopped a short distance from Shen Zichuan. He didn't move forward, but bent to pick a trampled leaf off the ground and scrutinized it. The men he hired are martial masters from all over the empire. Yet there's no sign that a fight broke out. Ji Gong Shifu must have been on his guard, and the Grand Mentor didn't resist. Shifu burned his face to conceal his identity and live in hiding. He's too wise to start a fight at a moment like this. Shen Zichuan folded that blue handkerchief neatly. Xian Sheng cannot remain in Shi Hongshuan's hands too long. We need to think of something. Chao Tianya crushed the leaf as Shen Zichuan contemplated. When Shen Zichuan suddenly turned, he was dazzled by the sunset's glow. He neither flinched nor hid from it, looking toward the towering imperial palace in the distance. Legitimate bloodline, Shen Zichuan murmured. He asked Chao Tianya, who lives there? Chao Tianya followed the line of his gaze. The Li clan. Wrong. Shen Zichuan's eyes were cold and indifferent as he said with a mocking smile, it's a deer. A prize for the taking. If Zhou were to lose its deer, all the heroes of the world might pursue it. Today, you say it's the Li clan. Tomorrow, I can say it's a cabbage seller on the street. Whoever manages to sit atop the dragon throne is the rightful ruler. Chao Tianya prided himself on being a rebellious nonconformist, but not even he expected Shen Zichuan had the audacity to voice such a sentiment. Astonished, he took a few steps back and looked out again at the palace, musing. Seditious words like these are tantamount to treason. Do you know? There are countless gentlemen in this world, good men who are steadfast and loyal. Shen Zichuan slipped the handkerchief back into his sleeve. The Earl of Biansha, Lu Pingyan, is known as the vicious beast of the border town. He has spent his entire family fortune to defend the Bianjun commandery. Although conferred a noble title by the emperor, all he eats are pickled vegetables and taro. As for Lu Guangbai, because he isn't on good terms with the 8 great clans, he's hard-pressed to fill his soldiers' bellies when war breaks out, and he's never been bestowed a noble title, despite all those illustrious military achievements. So tell me, is it satisfying to be such a loyal official and honorable gentleman? Before we talk about satisfaction, ask your conscience, Chao Tianya replied. To be an outspoken and candid minister, you must sacrifice the self and give up your personal desires for the greater good. Look at Feng Yisheng of Suotian Pass. His entire family died martyrs in battle. Loyal heroes, all. That is what we call the epitome of righteousness. The madness Shen Zichuan had suppressed earlier swept over him again. He burst into laughter. Chao Tianya, you're not at all the free spirit you make yourself out to be. You're a prisoner to the norms. It's men like you who can truly become gentlemen. Master. The last glimmer of sun on the horizon disappeared, and darkness shrouded the courtyard. The pear tree bared its withered branches, casting long shadows over Shen Zichuan's upturned face. In this world, someone has to be the traitor. I don't believe fate is determined by the heavens. If the blade's against my throat, I'd show no mercy even if it was Li Jianhong holding it, let alone Shi Hongshuan. The bloodline legitimacy Shi Hongshuan speaks of is the baseless ravings of a fool. Anyone will die when a sword slashes their neck. Whether one is a lawful son born to the legitimate wife, or a common son born to a concubine, there's no exception. In the cold and dreary dusk, a lone crow screeched mournfully. Shen Zichuan looked back at Chao Tianya. My ambition is not to be a gentleman, nor a good person. Since vindictiveness has become the tenet I live by, then a kindness given is kindness given, and a wrong done is a wrong done. Shi Hongshuan will pay with his life for what happened today. The wind scuttled the clouds away above them, scraping the last remaining leaves off the tips of the branches. The impeachments from the Chief Surveillance Bureau came down in a deluge. Shi Hongshuan, Pan Xiangjie, Wei Huaixing, even Hai Liangyi were censured one after the other. Sen Yu took charge as principal commentator as the various parties mauled one another on the floor of the imperial court. Li Jianhong, who had just left his sickbed, hardly spoke and simply let them argue among themselves as he held court in Mingli Hall. Hai Liangyi had been ill before the latest crisis, and lately looked to be in increasingly poor health. He'd had not a moment to rest, and now he couldn't help but let a few sharp coughs escape as he listened to the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Revenue arguing again. Secretariat Elder, Li Jianhong hurried to say, there's no need to rise. If you have something to add, you may say it while seated. Hai Liangyi bowed his thanks and covered his mouth with a handkerchief. When his coughing eased, he said, the Grand Secretariat has already laid our recommendations for rewards and punishments on His Majesty's desk yesterday. If your Majesty finds any part inappropriate after reviewing it, you may reject it, and the Grand Secretariat will discuss again. Li Jianhong had never been diligent in these things. Hai Liangyi assumed he would hem and haw. He didn't expect him to say after a moment's pause, we've seen it. There are indeed some parts we would like to ask the Secretariat Elder to further clarify. The entire hall of officials stood dumbfounded as these words left his mouth. Li Jianhong opened the memorial. The Imperial Army has done well in dredging the public ditches. Xiao Chuye is already a second-rank Supreme Commander of the Imperial Army. A reward of gold and jade is simply too meager. The military drill grounds on Mount Feng are undergoing expansion this year, and the money for it will be arranged by the Ministry of Revenue, Hai Liangyi answered. They've essentially waived his biggest expenditure this year. This humble subject feels the reward should not be overly excessive. This is sufficient. But managing the distribution of medicinal herbs, the quarantine of patients, and the dredging of the public ditches is no small matter. Oh, hi, Wolf. Oh. And the dredging of public ditches is no small matter, said Li Jianheng. He has handled all of them admirably. Hai Liangyi pondered it. It's true he has rendered meritorious service, but these deeds were not something the Imperial Army achieved on its own. If he's shown too much special favor, we would like to advance his noble rank. Li Jianheng closed the memorial and looked at Hai Liangyi. He's the second son of lawful birth to the Prince of Libei. Had he gone into battle and slain our enemies, he would hold a noble rank and title by now. Hai Liangyi didn't answer immediately. We were thinking about this in the days we were confined to our sickbed, Li Jianheng said. We wish to confer the title of Marquis of Dingdu, stabilizing the capital, upon Xiao Chuye. What does the Secretariat Elder think? You mustn't, Your Majesty, Hai Liangyi said. Without military achievements, one cannot be conferred a noble title. Xiao Chuye has made great contributions this time, certainly, but not to the point that he can be made a marquis. The Lu clan of Qidong's Bianjun commandery has numerous military achievements to their name, yet only old General Lu Pingyan currently holds a title as the Earl of Biancha, one rank lower than a marquis. Xiao Chuye has not stabilized the borders, and he has not driven out any enemies. I fear it will be difficult to justify to the public why Your Majesty has made him a marquis out of the blue. To begin with, he rendered meritorious service protecting us at the Nanlin hunting grounds, and now he has, yet again, shown no fear in the face of danger. Containing the pox is a public good. This matter concerns the peace and stability of Chudu. Is that not considered a merit? Meanwhile, the Earl of Biancha, Lu Pingyan, has deployed the garrison troops of Bianjun Commandery without permission on numerous occasions. His noble rank hasn't advanced because his merits and demerits offset each other. Li Jianheng's eyes reddened as he spoke. He covered his face, voice thick with emotion. Are you saying our life is worth nothing? Our intent in bestowing the title of Marquis on Xiao Chuye is to commend him. There will be no increase in the number of soldiers in the Imperial Army, nor any establishment of private rights. It's merely a title. Is this not acceptable either? Wei Huaigu had initially planned to impeach Xiao Chuye for distributing medicine without authorization, but seeing which way the wind was blowing, he changed tack. Your Majesty's proposal is reasonable. Xiao Chuye's decisive and fearless action in times of danger is to be commended. But the Secretariat Elder makes a compelling point, too. If this humble subject may make a suggestion, why not honor Xiao Chuye with the title of Earl first? God, I know. How dare he give sick people medicine fast? Terrible. No. Hai Liangyi wouldn't budge. The idea is nonsensical. Your Majesty, if you grant Xiao Chuye a title today, then you'll greatly disappoint the old general at the frontier. This is an established rule of the imperial court. A noble title cannot be conferred without military achievements. Why not first elevate Lu Pingyan to Marquis, then confer the title of Earl upon Xiao Chuye? Li Jianheng said. Does the Secretariat Elder still object? He spoke of conferment as if titles were a child's toys, to be swapped at will. Hai Liangyi's coughing intensified. He wanted to say more, but Pan Xiangjie beat him to it, speaking in a rush. This humble subject thinks it's a good idea. This would be Your Majesty's first conferment since your ascension. It's a special honor. Secretariat Elder, one mustn't be a stickler for convention on every particular. Xiao Chuye has made a contribution. What's wrong with making an exception? Upon seeing the noble clans begin to band together in urging Li Jianheng, Kong Qiu sank down in a kowtow. This humble subject thinks the Secretariat Elder has the right of it. Your Majesty, Lu Pingyan has spared no effort to defend the Bianjun Commandery. Even if he is conferred a new title, it shouldn't be decided in such a hasty and sloppy... Hasty! We've painstakingly asked the opinions of everyone in attendance, yet you say we're being hasty. Flinging his sleeves, Li Jianheng rose to his feet and pointed at Kong Qiu. We can see you're never out of step with the Secretariat Elder. The sovereign and his ministers. Exactly who is your sovereign, and whose minister are you? The entire court of ministers knelt and chorused. Your Majesty, please be appeased. Kong Qiu immediately said, Your Majesty is this humble subject's sovereign, and this humble subject does his Majesty's bidding. Nevertheless, it is inappropriate to bypass convention and press ahead with this conferment. We will confer the title upon him, Li Jianheng wept. Time and time again we've met with calamity, and it's only with Ce'an's help that we averted disaster and escaped unscathed. And now that we want to bestow a title upon him, you people obstruct us at every turn. If the Secretariat Elder has final say over all matters of this imperial court, perhaps the Secretariat Elder should sit on the throne instead. These words struck Hai Liangyi like a knife to the heart. Unsteady on his knees, Hai Liangyi covered his mouth and coughed violently. This man never met with officials outside the court and capital, and never held any private feasts. He worked tirelessly day and night, just to avoid being drawn into any faction or clique. And he taught and guided Li Jianheng with utmost care. Also, no one could find fault with his conduct, even behind his back. He was the most trustworthy minister, the right-hand man of the emperor, not some tyrannical official lusting for power. Watching Hai Liangyi cough, doubled over where he knelt, Li Jianheng didn't dare create more of a scene. He called someone to help Hai Liangyi up, yet he still said, no matter what, Xiao Chuye shall be conferred a title. The imperial edict was issued a few days after the commotion in Mingli Hall. Almost instantly, a wave of memorials flooded in from all over. Lu Guangbai brought his father out to receive the imperial edict at the Bianjun Commandery. Lu Pingyan was promoted to the rank of Marquis. Even he was at a loss as to how to react as he held the edict in his hands. The Lu clan had buried generations of its people in their yellow sand. In his heyday, Lu Pingyan had been known as the vicious beast of the border town. He was renowned for his military exploits, his name spoken alongside those of Xiao Fengshu and Qi Shiyu. Now, injured and growing frail, though before he retired from active duty to take up an advisory post, he finally received his reward. Yet this honor was granted merely to pave the way for a junior of the younger generation. Xiao Chuye was asleep in his residence when he got word of the arrival of the imperial edict. He dressed at once and came out to kneel. After reading the emperor's words aloud, Fuman beamed and moved to help him up to receive it, only to find a pale-faced Xiao Chuye, who looked as if he had no intention of doing any such thing. This title mustn't be accepted. What Hai Liangyi had said was true, and Xiao Chuye knew it. Though he had rendered meritorious service protecting the emperor at the Nanlin hunting grounds, and played a critical role in the latest crisis with the ditches, His contributions were nothing compared to the hard-won military efforts earned from battling with sharpened steel at the frontiers. And who was Lu Pingyan? None other than the general his old man, Xiaofang Shu, regarded as his own brother. Now that they had humiliated Lu Pingyan to confer a title on Xiao Chuye, how could Xiao Chuye hold his head up among the various garrison troops at the frontiers? How could he command any respect among his men? And most crucially, what would the Lu clan think? How could Xiao and Lu still be brothers? Dingdu stabilizing the capital. He would be more than stable. This title was clearly meant to nail him down here in Chudu. Did Li Jianhong's bout of illness fucking scramble his brain? Rage bubbled up in Xiao Chuye, worsened by his interrupted sleep. He tugged at the official's robe he'd hastily thrown on and squashed down his fury to say expressionlessly, "Go and report back to His Majesty that Xiao Tzuan is unworthy of this title. He doesn't dare accept this overwhelming favor from His Majesty, nor this heaven-sent noble rank." That's the end of the chapter. Well, it's interesting because sometimes I don't know if I'm, like, underestimating Li Jianhong. Like, my first thought is that he's created this issue and it's all just completely a mistake. Like, he just genuinely wanted to confer a title on Xiao Chuye, and he thought he was, like, doing something nice, and he's created this whole upset accidentally. But part of me is like, what if he kind of knows what if he actually knows what he's doing and we're underestimating him, and he knows, like, I don't know, if he's doing something underhanded. I can't tell. I'm probably just suspicious of him because I'm suspicious of everybody, so I think that everybody is up to something. Maybe he's the least up to something person, and he just made a genuine mistake, but I really don't know, and I kind of love that. Like, you never really know what people are up to in this series. So yeah, I feel like Li Jianhong doesn't realize, but also the former emperor did tell him not to let Xiao Chuye leave Chudu, so how much of this did he think about? Yeah, that's the one thing, is he's still operating under not letting Xiao Chuye leave. So who knows if he did actually, think about that. The one thing is, he did actually look at that decree, much to everyone's surprise, or decree, I don't remember what it was, but he looked at something that everyone thought he was just going to, like, not even bother with. So it feels like he's put some thought behind this. So that does make me wonder. But it is time for me to take a short break. And when we come back, we will be on page 369 for chapter 73, which is called Conferment. So be right back. Hello, I'm back. How's everybody doing? We are 3 chapters away from finishing this book. And yeah, we're in an interesting predicament right now. Xiaoqia is. So we are on page 369 for chapter 73, Conferment. And it's an interesting title because I'm gonna guess that Xiaoqia's title is not going to be conferred if he, like, refuses. But I'm a little bit worried. I'm sort of wondering if he'll, like, have to accept it, or if it just means the conferment of the title on, Lu Pingyan, I think it was. So let's find out. Xiaoqia didn't dare accept the imperial edict, and Fu Man didn't dare persuade him further. He hurried back to the palace to make his report. After hearing the whole story, Li Jianhong leapt to his feet. Are the orders of the Son of Heaven something he can reject as he pleases? When we reward him, you should kneel and accept it. Go back. Cursing his fate, Fu Man climbed onto the horse again and returned to Xiaoqia's residence. Finding Xiaoqia still kneeling, he held out the imperial edict again and bowed. Supreme Commander, why do this? Isn't this what we crawled through the ditches for? I don't want this noble rank, Xiaoqia said with a hint of displeasure. Don't waste your breath on me. Fu Man stamped his foot in anxiety, but he couldn't accept the edict on behalf of Xiaoqia. All he could do was play for time. When word of Xiao Qiye's reply was brought back to the palace, Li Jianheng flew into a rage. Let him kneel then. In order to reward him, we rebuffed even the Secretariat Elder, and he still puts on airs. Let him kneel, we say. Thus, the sovereign and his minister, one within the palace walls and the other without, remained in a deadlock. Yeah, I don't envy Fuman of the position he's in right now. The ground was icy in the first 3 months of the year. Xiao Qiye knelt with a straight back, determined to see Li Jianheng revoke his order. Perhaps he could have accepted the edict, then handled the matter in a more diplomatic fashion, but he wasn't willing. The Lu clan of Qidong was held in check by the Qi clan at the top, and invaded by Biansha at the bottom. They weren't in the same league as the Qi and Xiao clans. In slighting Lu Pingyan, Li Jianheng had picked the easy target. The food and clothing expenditures of those 20,000 troops of the Bianjun Commandery were all in the imperial court's control. They had no military fields. If they had, the Lu clan wouldn't be forced to stoop so low, demanding payment every year, or be so poor that they sold their family lands and heirlooms. When Lu Guangbai entered the capital to make his annual reports, had he ever been taken seriously? Yet which mid-ranked official in the capital would normally dare dismiss a general of the empire? They all took their cues from above. In the Xiande Emperor's day, it was rare for Lu Guangbai to successfully seek an audience with the emperor. This was more than a simple matter of being liked or disliked. It was about the balance of military power in the empire. The Xiao and Qi were both great generals stationed at the frontiers. Yet why did the Hua clan guard against the Prince of Libei so rigorously, and go to such lengths to trap Xiao Qiye in Chudu? The Xiao clan was the dominant force in the Libei Great Commandery. There was no leash in the entire territory that could bring them to heel, and thus Chudu could only turn Xiao Qiye into the collar that restrained the Libei armored cavalry. Qidong, on the other hand, had two equally celebrated generals, Qi Shiyu and Lu Pingyan. So why was Qi Shiyu eventually the one conferred the title of Grand Marshal of Qidong's 5 commanderies? Because Lu Pingyan and Xiao Fengshu were on close terms, and on top of that, were connected through the marriage of their children. The Lu clan was the chess piece that served to balance the power between the 3 parties. Their position in the Bianjun Commandery was crucial, a heavy responsibility entrusted to them by the imperial court. Even so, the court was in no hurry to bestow titles and ranks upon them. With both the Qi clan and the imperial court keeping them in check, the Lu clan could only ever be a weapon used to fight foreign enemies. So long as they never became high-ranking military officials of the frontier, they would never become a second Prince of Libei. As it stood, although Lu Guangbai was the commanding general in charge of the Bianjun Commandery's defenses, he could make no move on his own. He had to consult Qi Juyin for any mobilization of troops, and consult the Ministry of War and Ministry of Revenue in Chudu for any disbursement of money. If Qi Juyin hadn't been generous in granting him the prerogative to deploy troops on his orders in times of peril, he would be in an even greater predicament than he currently was. Now Li Jianheng had elevated Lu Pingyan's noble rank, yet it was a promotion in name only, with no accompanying rewards or authority. This reminds me of what Shen Zichuan was talking about to Shi Hongshuan earlier on, when he said there's not really any difference between being of noble or common birth. Like, a rank is a difference in rank only. it doesn't actually make a difference. The Liu clan would remain starving cattle, working to their deaths at the Bianjun commandery. Their reputation had gone up a notch on the surface, but it was an insult at the root. Half the Liu clan's current difficulties were related to the Xiao clan. Xiao Chuye could not, must not accept the edict without protest. If the imperial edict had been issued, then the Grand Secretariat had given the nod. In that case, there was no reason for the Son of Heaven to revoke his order. Yet Xiao Chuye could not meet it with great delight. Whether he had to kowtow, lash out, or even throw a tantrum, he had to show the Liu clan his personal stance. It was by virtue of power and might that Li Jianhong could trample the Liu clan into the mud. The imperial court had the Liu clan in their grasp. In contrast, it was by virtue of friendship that the Xiao clan didn't dare do the same. Both families had always regarded the other as a brother. If this friendship foundered, the Xiao clan would lose their assistive force in the southeast. Xiao Chuye knelt until dark. Fu Man didn't dare sit. He stood at the side with the imperial edict in his hands. Eventually, they heard the sound of hurried footsteps from the entrance. A eunuch called urgently, "Supreme Commander, you may stop kneeling. Please get up. His Majesty summons you for an audience." Xiao Chuye lifted the hem of his robe and rose without demur, then swung astride his horse to make for the palace. Fu Man scrambled onto his horse to follow. Xiao Chuye showed no signs of exhaustion, so he didn't dare complain either. When they arrived, Mingli Hall was brightly lit. Li Jianhong sat on the dragon throne as someone announced Xiao Chuye's arrival, but he didn't summon him in. He remained seated, tracing characters at his desk. Without a summons, Xiao Chuye could not enter. He knelt in the dark outside Mingli Hall. It was late, and the cold water that remained on the freshly scrubbed floor dampened his robe. The entire courtyard of eunuchs moved in silence, none daring to make a sound. Li Jianhong stared blankly at the glazed lamp on his desk, sunk in thought in this silent night. By the time he returned to his senses, it was past midnight. He blinked for a moment, then suddenly rose to his feet and walked out. The palace maids withdrew, and the eunuchs knelt where they were. Treading over their shadows, Li Jianhong crossed the floor. Xiao Chuye didn't lift his head. Li Jianhong looked down. In the past, he had always looked up at Xiao Chuye. When they had run about on the streets together, he had considered Xiao Chuye a big brother. Xiao Chuye, too, had called him brother. They had been thick as thieves, and together made every kind of mischief. Li Jianhong thought he had treated Xiao Chuye with utmost sincerity. How had they come to this? Li Jianhong was dressed in the emperor's vibrant yellow, a round-necked robe with narrow sleeves. He dug his thumbs into the amber belt at his waist as he moved to Xiao Chuye's side and looked up at the luminous moon hanging over the upswept palace eaves. He weighed his words for a moment, then said, "There's no one else here. Let's talk." The cold moonlight cast its pale light over them, adding to the chill of the wind. "Aren't you usually bold and carefree?" asked Li Jianhong. "To think giving you a noble rank could scare you witless." "It's incompatible with reason, and intolerable under the law," Xiao Chuye said. Li Jianhong paced atop the steps under the eaves. "Don't give me that. Since when are you one to speak of reason? Before the Nanlin hunting grounds, we were good brothers who would risk our lives for each other. After that incident, we became sovereign and minister, separated by an impassable rift. So on, isn't it a good thing for me to be the emperor and you to be the supreme commander? Why do you have to put up a front with me? Just accept the rewards you're given. Cowering like this is unlike you, shouts on. Xiao Chuye understood what he meant. If your majesty wants to reward me with gold and jewels, I'll promptly kowtow and give my thanks. But I won't do it for a noble rank. After serving as an official for 6 years, I have no notable achievements. I feel uneasy receiving your majesty's kindness and becoming a marquis with the snap of the fingers. What's there to be uneasy about? Li Jianheng scoffed. Given our relationship, you should have been conferred a title long ago. The Grand Secretariat interferes with my every move, picking at everything I do. I never had a chance before, but this time you've earned it. When Lu Pingyan was conferred a title all those years ago, it was because he effectively resisted and repelled the Biansha horsemen at the border. You protected the emperor in Chudu, and in doing so, ensured the safety of our empire and people. I see no difference. If the Grand Secretariat has qualms, there's no rush, said Xiao Chuye. We can't hurt the old officials' feelings. Those old men are always thick-headed and obstinate, Li Jianheng said. How can they be so inflexible? Even brothel girls know when to be flexible and read the room, changing their games according to time and season, yet these major ministers are still clinging to their rigid rules. How dull. After this scare, I've been thinking about many things. Whether I wished it or not, I've become the emperor. It's not productive to keep crying and whining. We all have to find some way to live on, right? I'm not an unreasonable man. If you have something to say, say it. It's not like I'll go execute anyone. I wanted to confer a title upon you, but the Secretariat Elder didn't agree. He led the others to oppose me, saying I was hasty and sloppy in my decisions. I spent nights tossing and turning over this, and they still say I'm too hasty. Li Jianheng turned as he spoke, and the golden dragon on his crown flashed in the moonlight, lending him an imposing air of elegance and nobility. He didn't tell Xiao Chuye to rise. After a long pause, he continued, I'm the emperor. I can't renege on my word. Since the edict has been issued, you'll have to accept it. You've rebuffed me once, but we are brothers, so I won't hold it against you. But if you continue to dig your heels in, then it becomes a problem that can't be settled between brothers. Neither of us will look good then. Deal? Xiao Chuye was silent a moment. Your Majesty, that won't do. The annual review is around the corner. It's a good thing to elevate old General Lu's noble rank. He deserves it, but not me. It's for the sake of your Majesty's own reputation that I haven't accepted. I'm someone your Majesty single-handedly promoted. If my honors don't match my deeds, how can I tend to official duties for your Majesty in the future? Those who lead troops are concerned with their reputation and dignity. If you show old General Lu due respect, I will benefit by association too. Are these excuses for my sake, or are they for the sake of the Xiao clan? Do you really think I don't understand just because you didn't say it? Li Jianheng stared at him. We're brothers who should treat each other with sincerity, yet you treat me like a fool. I rewarded you because of our friendship, but you turn it down out of self-interest. I told you to be candid with me, and you're still beating around the bush. Xiao Chuye, Li Jianheng bellowed, where's your conscience? The question reverberated through the cold, dreary night. You're afraid of offending Lu Pingyan. Why is that? Li Jianheng flung his sleeves. You dare say you're loyal to us? You're doing all this for yourself. If you don't dare to say it, we'll say it for you. You're afraid of offending Lu Pingyan and ruining the friendship between your clans, which would make it hard to look out for each other in the future. But let us ask you this. The Xiao and Lu each have their respective military forces at the borders. What are you looking out for? Xiao Chiye clenched his fists, his thumb ring jammed in the web between thumb and forefinger. All of you are wolves and tigers. Li Jianheng pointed an accusing finger at Xiao Chiye. All with your minds set on Chudu. We were merely sounding you out, and you showed your true colors. Military powers collude with one another, and the Xiao clan makes common cause with the Lu clan. What comes next? Tell us. What are you going to do? Xiao Chiye abruptly rose onto one knee. He had an imposing physique, and kneeling like this, he resembled a panther ready to spring. Li Jianheng stumbled a few steps back and looked at him, badly shaken. Naturally, it's to do those Biansha baldies in. Xiao Chiye's expression was fierce as he looked at Li Jianheng. 6 years ago, when the Zhongbo troops were routed, my brother rode through the night to come to the Emperor's rescue. He risked his life in that battle at Sezhou. Lu Guangbai held a spear in his hands and a dagger in his mouth, and fought for 3 nights before he broke through the siege. He raced to Chudu without stopping to rest. Everything your majesty has said is an affront to the Xiao and Lu clans' loyalty. You're right. The reason I haven't accepted the conferment is Lu Pingyan, but even more so, it's the unwavering loyalty of the generals who guard our frontiers. It's all thanks to your majesty's kindness that I, Xiao Tse'an, a good-for-nothing loafer, can live in Chudu without fearing for my life or worrying about heading off to war. If I can become a high and mighty marquis just like that, what will Marshal Qi and General Lu, both of whom are still enduring hardships on the frontier, think? More excuses. You're only doing this for your own untainted reputation. My life is worthless, but your majesty is the ruler of our prosperous lands. Xiao Chiye's words were resolute. If you reward me for this minor contribution and end up diminishing the general's loyalty to your majesty, who would be at a greater disadvantage, your majesty or me? Li Jianheng looked hesitant. Xiao Chiye pressed ahead. If this is merely a show I've put on to pander to the Lu clan, why did Secretariat Elder Hai try so hard to dissuade your majesty? Your majesty, you may not trust me, but don't you trust Hai Liangyi, whom the late emperor appointed and who has come to the emperor's rescue thrice? Your majesty has repeatedly met with danger and misfortune, and immediately after, you dish out disproportionate rewards. Whoever it is that's instigating your majesty ought to have his head struck from his shoulders. Li Jianheng seemed to jolt to his senses. He retreated under the eaves, clutching the vermilion pillar for support. The imperial edict has already been issued. Your majesty is the sovereign of a new reign. It was inappropriate to bestow rewards during the earlier period of state mourning. But now that the 2 great imperial affairs of the spring plowing and annual review are in full swing, why not seize the chance to proclaim a general amnesty and reward the generals at the frontiers according to the merit evaluation from the Ministry of War? Don't stop at advancing Lu Pingyan to the rank of Marquis of Biansha. The Lu clan consistently exterminates the most enemies at the Bianjun Commandery, so it would be wise to reward them with an increase in military provisions. Jueshi had a bumper harvest last year, and their granaries are filled to the brim. By awarding them grain, the state treasury can save on monetary rewards while relieving the Bianjun Commandery's most pressing needs. Old Commander Qi's wedding is fast approaching. Your Majesty, if you raise Third Lady Hua's status to Commandery Princess, you'd be raising Qidong's prestige as well. Xiao Chiye's words were earnest, his gaze frank. You are the sovereign of a great empire, and the common ruler of our vast land. Who could still be discontent when you bestowed such grace and favor on all? When the Xiande emperor had ascended the throne, the Empress Dowager decided everything for him. He had thus missed his opportunity to make such a splash during his reign. Li Jianheng's dearest wish right now was to prove himself. He was suspicious and susceptible to others' provocation only because he was afraid of being declared unworthy of his position. Xiao Qiye's words pushed all the right buttons. All right. Now aglow with delight, Li Jianheng came down from the steps to move toward Xiao Qiye. All right. Sa'an, get up quickly. The ground is cold. Fu Man, who had been kneeling below the steps all this while, listened with astonishment. Who would have thought that in just a few hours, Xiao Qiye could seize the opportunity to deal a counterattack and avert personal disaster? Xiao Qiye had a firm grasp on Li Jianheng's character. If he hadn't, he'd never have been able to hit the bullseye with a single shot. The more Fu Man thought, the more elated he grew. There's a future for me in following the second young master. That was close, Elsie. That is the end of the chapter. Blue Xiao Qiye is a smart boy. Well, we are on page 379 for chapter 74, which is called Toast Exchange. The second month of the year was a crucial time for the planting of mulberry and hemp. The various provinces hurried to submit their reports so the Ministry of Revenue might allocate funds. Mountains of trivial affairs piled up, and the ministers of various departments grew so busy they were wan from exhaustion. Li Jianheng dispensed the planned rewards and conferments, and only then was Xiao Qiye bestowed the title of Marquis of Dingdu. Oh, okay. So he still was bestowed that title, but everyone else was bestowed new rewards as well, like he said. I thought he had actually convinced the emperor to not put that title on him at all. Meanwhile, Shen Zichuan skipped another rank to receive a promotion to third rank vice commander. He concurrently took up the duties of the northern judge and began to take charge of the imperial prison. The Grand Secretariat initially opposed the promotion, but Sen Yu submitted a memorial with a strong recommendation of his own. After the outbreak of the pox, Hailiang Yi, too, had come to see Shen Zichuan in a new light, and thus it was decided. Xiao Qiye carried the earring case on him, but never found an opportunity to run into Shen Zichuan. He was too busy with the imperial prison. As part of taking up his post, he had to go through all the cases that had accumulated before the new year, one at a time. Despite being so busy he forewent meals and sleep, he still sent Chao Tianya to keep a constant watch on Shi Hongshuan, until he could find a way to rescue Qi Huilian and Ji Gong. Yeah, Henry, he saw he couldn't convince Li Jianheng to rescind his decree, so he did the next best thing. Can't hurt relations between military clans if everyone gets a bonus. No, I see. That was great thinking on his part. And also, I keep waiting for the delivery of the earrings gift, and I'm like, no. No, mentioning it again, but they still haven't been able to meet. Please, let it happen soon. Please let it happen in this volume. Young swallows clamored on roof beams, while weeping willows sprouted new shoots. The vermilion walls and green-glazed tiles of Chudu gradually appeared under the snow, as the sky remained clear and sunny for several days. On a day when spring rain fell uninterrupted, Chen Yu hosted a feast and invited a few friends from the public ditches incident. It's going to be really hard for me to not say dishes now. Although Hai Liang Yi received an invitation, he wasn't one to attend private banquets to begin with, and had yet to recover from his illness. He declined. By the time Shen Zichuan arrived, the feast had begun. He was led straight to the main hall. When he lifted the curtain, he saw a group of familiar faces. Han Chung, Kong Chiu, and Sen Yu shared a table. Xiao Chiye was already on his third cup of wine, listening with his elbows on the table to Yu Xiaozai, whose seat was at the bottom, telling jokes to an entire hall of important ministers. Elsie, Xiao Chiye saved us all by taking care of the dishes. What's a feast but a public dishes incident? Thank you, Henry. You're correct. Someone's got to do the dishes. The instant Shen Zichuan entered, Yu Xiaozai hurriedly made his obeisance. Your Excellency is late. Please come have a seat up here. Shen Zichuan removed his cloak with a smile. There's much to do in the imperial prison. Please forgive my tardiness. I'll sit lower down. Chen Yu rose and beckoned to him. That kind of stuffy etiquette won't do at private banquets. Once you're here, we're all friends, regardless of age. Why stand on ceremony? Lao Han, you tell him. It's just as he says, Han Chung said. Lanzhou, come sit up here. We useless old-timers also have the honor of being in the company of the young Marquis today. Your Lordship, you have lowered yourself for us. Chief Commander, how can you say so? Xiao Chiye seemed a little drunk. He didn't look at Shen Zichuan and merely smiled. Who here isn't a respected elder? I'll be looking to all of you for advice in the future. Shen Zichuan had taken a seat across the wide table from Xiao Chiye. Only if he stretched his legs would he be able to reach him. They exchanged no word or glance. Kong Chiu looked left and right at them and remarked with a smile, I've long heard of the quarrel between the two of you. You won't even greet each other when you meet? You seemed to work quite well together during the flooding. Why cling to past grudges? The way I see it, Chen Yu added, both of you are promising young men, and neither deflects responsibility onto the other in your work. Why not take the chance to bury the hatchet with a smile today? He raised his hands as he spoke. The embroidered uniform guard and the Imperial Army should look out for each other. There will be plenty of opportunities to work together in days to come. Your Lordship, what say you? Xiao Chiye cast a lazy glance at Shen Zichuan, his expression indecipherable. Why not? What wouldn't I do for a smile from Judge Shen? I should give my proper thanks to His Excellency this time, too. Y'all, I keep looking up at the chat and I can't. Henry, Blue, please. Was there ever a time I didn't greet your lordship with a smile? Shen Zichuan touched his wine cup. All that's in the past. There's just been no opportunity before now. Isn't that right? Han Chung had shared the most drinks with Xiao Chiye. On seeing this, he took up his chopsticks again and said as he picked at the food, Well, let's have a drink, your lordship, if you'll do the honors. Yu Xiaozai, who'd been standing all this while, promptly filled both their cups to the brim. Xiao Chiye held his in both hands and said without getting up, Then, let's toast. He remained seated, as befit his official rank. Shen Zichuan stood, revealing the bones of his wrist as he lifted his cup. Oh my god, there's art. I can't look at that yet. No. Since this wine is to settle old grudges, Xiao Chiye suddenly said, it can't be drunk in the common way. Judge, how about a nuptial exchange of wine? Excuse me? Han Chung burst into raucous laughter. He pointed a finger at Xiao Chiye, shaking his head as he sighed. Your lordship, you're taking advantage. How can you put Lanzhou in such a spot? How is this putting him in a spot? Xiao Chiye said. I can scarcely put into words how I love and respect him. Is this not meant to be an expression of our sincerity? Knowing Xiao Chiye's temper, Chen Yu suspected he still held a grudge over Zhang Bo and meant to make things difficult for Shen Zichuan, just as he steeled himself to speak up and dissuade Xiao Chiye. Shen Zichuan laughed. Sure, Shen Zichuan said. We'll do as his lordship says. He held up the cup and leaned across the table, giving Xiao Chiye the faintest glimpse of his collarbone. Their arms intertwined. Shen Zichuan's throat bobbed as he swallowed. He could feel Xiao Chiye watching him. His gaze seemed to follow the wine down into that robe. Xiao Chiye drank slowly. He held the wine in his mouth, his eyes never leaving Shen Zichuan. Shen Zichuan could feel his sturdiness where their arms were linked. When he finished, Xiao Chiye seemed to laugh, yet no one heard it. Only Shen Zichuan lowered his eyes to look at him. His gaze was naked, brimming with dangerous desire. Shen Zichuan withdrew his arm and sat back down, his back clammy with sweat. Xiao Chiye seemed unfazed. He leaned his elbows on the table again and tilted his head to listen to the conversation. Chen Yu was speaking. After the spring planting, it'll be the spring examinations. The Imperial College hopes to recruit new students this year. The upkeep of so many students. Looks like the Ministry of Revenue is in for another headache. Okay. It's time for the art. Look at them. They're doing the thing. They're doing the wedding vows toast. In Volume 2, they're doing the wedding vows toast. I still kind of feel like the cover of Volume 1 could have been the cover of this volume. Because they're, like, doing a toast on that cover. Like, kind of like this? I don't know. Kong Cho snorted a laugh. What does Wei Huaigu have to complain about? He's the money keeper. It's his job to budget for it. To begin with, all this should have been arranged much earlier. For him to wait till now to do it is already dereliction of duty. He's the money keeper, and you're the living king of hell. Han Chung set down his chopsticks, satiated with wine and food. Zhang Bo is a right mess, and the cases submitted to the Ministry of Justice from the 6 prefectures are as many as the hairs on an ox. They can't delay sending someone over to take charge there, can they? The Secretariat Elder is still mulling over whom to send, Chen Yu lamented. If Lanzhou formally joins the central administration as a court official, then he might have a chance at it. Whether because of the heat of the wine, Shen Zichuan's face was slightly flushed. Whether because of the heat or the wine, Shen Zichuan's face was slightly flushed. I can't, he said. I'm not yet qualified to be assigned out of the capital. I couldn't put down the unrest. Gain a little more experience and you'd do fine. Han Chung's interest was piqued. It's said officials from the capital are wily. But how can the capital officials be as slippery and sly as the provincial ones? Some years ago, I went to the outer regions with the Chief Surveillance Bureau to audit the accounts, and I tell you those local lords and old masters are a cunning bunch. They held 2 versions of all the account books in their residences. Sen Shunyi. Even if you went yourself, you couldn't distinguish the real from the fake. He continued, warming to his subject. Every year when the Imperial Envoy heads down, there's a great flurry of activity. They get the news well in advance, and drive away all the disaster victims and refugees in their territories before your arrival. You'll never see them. This is the so-called no hunger concern in the territory you see in the evaluations. Once you arrive, they'll hold a banquet and think of all kinds of reasons to ply you with wine. You'll drink until daybreak, then sleep until nightfall. You'll be so drunk you can't even walk out of the prefectural yamen on your own feet. What energy would you have to check the accounts? Once the time is up and the silver is pocketed, the evaluation will be marked outstanding, and it's off to the next place to drink. That's considered the end of the audit. But there are still those who do their jobs, Chen Yu pointed out. You can't tar them all with the same brush. He sighed. When Xue Xiuzhuo went out a few years ago, he was a formidable force. All the accounts of the 13 cities of Jueshi were sorted out in perfect order without a single error. I really thought he would be assigned to the Ministry of Revenue. Who would have expected the Secretariat Elder to transfer him to the Court of Judicial Review instead? Can he get anywhere as Wei Huaigu's subordinate? Kong Qiu leaned back in his chair. He never had social dealings with Wei Huaigu and Pan Qiangjie. Everyone knew he was friendly with them in public, but held them in little regard in private, so he wasn't afraid to speak out in Han Cheng's presence. The current Vice Minister of the Ministry of Revenue might as well not exist. Wei Huaigu alone calls the shots. It's his final say in the overall management of finances. Wouldn't Xue Xiuzhuo be rendered useless there? The Secretariat Elder means to polish him. He intends him to achieve great things in the future. Han Cheng laughed out loud. Don't discuss state affairs at a private feast. How can you forget this? Lao Kong, you ought to be punished. Seeing they were nearly done with their meal, Chen Yu said, When Yo Jing here returned a few days ago, he told me about a game. The night is young. Why don't we give it a try? Yo Jing, take out those cards of yours. Not a game. Yu Xiaozai readily produced a wooden box, which he opened to reveal a small stack of carved wooden cards. This humble subordinate learned this game when I went to the port of Yongyi for inspection. You compose paired couplets to match the cards. My lords, would you like to give it a go? Han Cheng turned to Xiao Qie. I'm no good at literary games like this. Your lordship, how about giving me some tips? Xiao Qie sipped his wine. Does the chief commander think so highly of Xiao Sa'an? Do I look like a man who reads? It's all in good fun. Why not give it a try? Yo Jing, deal the cards. Yu Xiaozai dealt to Han Cheng, Xiao Qie, and Chen Yu. Xiao Qie fiddled with his wine cup. He had just given the cards a glance when something brushed his calf under the table. He paused and fixed his gaze on Han Cheng's hand. Han Cheng frowned down at his cards. What am I supposed to do with these flowers and plants? Your lordship, do you recognize this? Throw them a line based on foxtail grass, said Xiao Qie. I guarantee. A socked foot tapped Xiao Qie's knee, its sole stepping on his kneecap as if testing its position. Guarantee they'll be stumped. Han Cheng tossed a card out and said with a smile. The swallow teases the foxtail. Spring arrives. There, I composed the first line of a couplet. Go ahead, Shunyi, pair it up. Cards against heterosexuality it is. Oh my god, ancient Chinese gay footsie. Yeah. We love it. Han Cheng wasn't a learned man, but he didn't let that hold him back. On hearing his bold attempt, Kong Qiu and Chen Yu laughed. As the three men chatted, Xiao Qie shot a glance at Chen Zichuan. Shen Zichuan was grasping his fan. A little bamboo one Xiao Qiye had sent him. He tapped it intermittently on the table as he listened to the conversation. As if sensing Xiao Qiye's gaze on him, the corners of his eyes curved in a tiny smile. Beneath the table, that foot had slid between Xiao Qiye's legs, nudging the inside of his thigh as though seeking something. Xiao Qiye held the wine cup with his thumb pressed hard against the rim. Otherwise, he remained motionless. I wasn't expecting them to do this, but I don't know why. I should be surprised. I shouldn't be. After a while, Xiao Qiye laughed. Isn't that a fox? He picked out an ink-traced fox from among Han Cheng's cards and tossed it onto the table. A leaky roof meets a rainy night. A vixen whispers in my dream. Where to seek the tide of spring? In that drip-drop lies the hint. Sorry, I made it dirty. Han Cheng exchanged a toast with Xiao Qiye, then laughed again. We're being serious here, yet you've gone and turned the fox into a vixen. The foot slid slowly down Xiao Qiye's calf, brushing a few times along the curve of muscle. Well, men like me. Xiao Qiye drank his wine and looked at Shen Zichuan. Simply attract foxes. Elsie, that's a good question. Come on, how do they keep getting away with flirting in public all the time? How does no one realize this is happening? How is any respectable person supposed to follow that? Vixens and spring tides, it's too crude. Kong Qiu laughed, then sighed. Xiao Tse, you don't even latch the door when you sleep. How can you blame someone when they come looking for action? You're obviously looking for it yourself. Xiao Qiye didn't immediately reply, but when that foot stepped gently down on him, he laughed. The upper half of Shen Zichuan's body was so steady nothing seemed amiss. He left off tapping the fan and rubbing his fingertips together. In the stuffy room, Xiao Qiye could almost see the flush creeping into the corners of those eyes. Just then, Chen Yu dropped his card on the ground. Yu Xiaozai immediately stopped what he was doing and made to lean over and pick it up. Shen Zichuan prepared to retract his foot, but unexpectedly, Xiao Qiye reached down and grabbed hold of his ankle. His soul was stepping on Xiao Qiye's heated arousal through the fabric. Xiao Qiye slipped 2 fingers into his white sock and stroked his ankle. Fan brushing the table. Shen Zichuan's hand dropped to the wooden surface. Yu Xiaozai had hiked up the hem of his robe and was bending down. My lords, please lift your feet. Let this humble subordinate see where it has fallen. Xiao Qiye was unruffled as he gripped Shen Zichuan's ankle. He exerted gentle force with his thumb, caressing the skin in his grasp, until Shen Zichuan felt a tingle up his spine. He tightened his grip on the fan. Oh my god. Okay, that's the end of the chapter. We have one more left. We're on page 389 for chapter 75, which is called Night Ride. I don't know how they're going to get out of this situation. Like, someone's got to look under the table. What do you do? Yu Xiaozai was already squatting down when Xiao Qiye dropped his wine cup. Han Cheng, being nearest, suffered a stained robe. The cards were abandoned as Yu Xiaozai sprang up to fetch a handkerchief for Han Cheng to clean himself. Chen Yu had still been squinting at his cards when the wine splashed him. He hastily tried to dodge, prompting a loud laugh from Kong Cho. I cannot read. Han Chung tugged at his sodden robe. Your lordship, you've had too much to drink. Your hands are unsteady. Xiao Chiye raised his hands in apology. Forgive me. I'll have someone send you a replacement tomorrow as compensation. Forget it. It's only a set of robes. How could Han Chung let Xiao Chiye compensate him? He bent his mouth into a smile. We'll treat this cup as a toast from your lordship. Shen Zichuan had withdrawn his foot. He leaned over and picked up the card from the floor. As he placed it on the table, he heard Xiao Chiye laughing. The lingering warmth on his ankle seemed to grow hotter amid that sound. Now quite drunk, Kong Cho struck a porcelain cup with his chopsticks and sang out incomprehensible lyrics, adding to the chaotic atmosphere. He was the polar opposite of his habitual demeanor in court. Chen Yu, seeing Kong Cho making such a spectacle of himself, tugged on his sleeve. Boran, stop singing. Go home and sleep. You still need to preside over Shi Hongshuan's trial the day after tomorrow. Kong Cho lifted his cup higher and struck it with increasing glee. I didn't forget. I'm investigating him. Thankfully, I was the one who invited you to this feast, Chen Yu said, struggling to keep hold of him. Or else you would surely be impeached for behaving in such an uncouth manner. Let them impeach, cried Kong Cho. Let them impeach. Imperial censors ought to have the courage to speak. Right, well said, Han Chung laughed. We've all been saddled with such a massive pile of work we can scarcely breathe. How often can we enjoy ourselves to the fullest? Let the man sing. It's time to wind down, said Xiao Chiye. If we're carousing too late at night, the Secretariat Elder will have our hides. He got to his feet and called to Chen Yang. Send Lord Kong back in my horse carriage. The attendants swarmed in, and Chen Yang helped Kong Cho out the door. Chen Yu wiped sweat from his brow and told the remaining men, You don't know this, but Bo Ran was also once an unconventional and uninhibited person. The Secretariat Elder is rigid about self-restraint and propriety. He had him whipped into shape. See what happens when you drink too much of this wine? Everyone, wait a moment while I tell the cook to put on some soup to sober you up. Drink it before you leave. I was just thinking about your residence's dough drop soup. Han Chung didn't stand on formality. I'll take lots of vinegar in mine and drink it before leaving. Shen Zichuan bowed. The Imperial prison still has urgent cases to be processed tomorrow morning, so I'm afraid I can't stay. Everyone, please enjoy your meal. If time permits in the future, I'll invite everyone for another round. Han Chung knew Shen Zichuan was indeed busy of late. When you held the post of Southern Judge, you kept a close eye on the military craftsmen. Now that you've transferred to the office of the Northern Judge, there's no need for you to burn the candle at both ends. The men will remember your kind treatment. They won't make things too difficult for you. Shen Zichuan murmured his acknowledgement. Chen Yu insisted on sending him off. Shen Zichuan had no way to politely decline, so they walked out the doors together. The rain had grown heavier, and the city was covered in a thick layer of fog. The gust of cool air dispelled their wine-induced heat, leaving both refreshed. Chen Yu led Shen Zichuan down the steps. You must have pushed back a great deal of work to make time for our feast tonight. It wasn't too bad. The most urgent cases were finalized before today, Shen Zichuan replied with a smile. Chen Yu nodded. That's good. Assignments cannot be delayed. He accompanied Shen Zichuan all the way to the gates, where he ordered someone to hold an umbrella and lantern for him. Chen Yu had a true appreciation for Shen Zichuan's talents. It was a pity this man served in the embroidered uniform guard. He couldn't help giving him some advice. All the cases on the imperial prison are major affairs. Not even the 3 judicial offices can interfere, Chen Yu said. In coming into this position, you've enjoyed what some would call a meteoric rise. You must speak with caution and act with prudence. They say standing close to the sovereign is as perilous as lying with a tiger. Those who work well in the presence of the emperor are all born intelligent and quick-witted. But you needn't worry overmuch about your qualifications. You are already remarkably successful, given your youth. You have a long way ahead of you. Just remember there's no need to be anxious about anything other than your assignments. He paused. The Marquis of Dingdu isn't a narrow-minded man either. You two are bound to work together in the future. Tonight, you've buried the hatchet with the toast. Perhaps you'll never be soulmates, but it's still better to be friends who can look out for each other than enemies who clash each time you meet. Lanzhou, you're a talented young man. I hope to see you work hard and achieve success in your career. Chen Yu spoke with such sincerity, Shen Zichuan was moved in spite of himself. He bowed low. Chen Yu helped him up, saying, "The road is slippery on rainy nights. Be careful on your way. Off you go." At last, Shen Zichuan pulled on the pristinely white fur coat Li Jianhong had bestowed on him, and bade farewell to Chen Yu. He didn't step into the sedan, but let Xiao Tianya hold up the umbrella for him, as master and servant walked into the rain. The two hadn't been walking long when the thunder of hoofbeats rose behind them. Xiao Tianya shook rainwater off the umbrella as he stepped aside. As expected, he saw Xiao Chuye on horseback, galloping toward them at full speed. Good timing, Xiao Tianya's voice was drowned out as Xiao Chuye bent to scoop Shen Zichuan up onto his horse and galloped off with him. Now, how... scooping someone up onto a horse, that sounds kind of difficult. Like, I'm trying to actually picture how you are on a horse and you just scoop someone up onto the horse. Like, damn, okay. The water droplets kicked up by Snowcrest's hooves soaked Xiao Tianya. He spread his arms and slowly finished. Want to drink some xiaojiu. That is a crazy amount of arm strength, Blue. Xiao Chuye was strong and well built. Even holding Shen Zichuan in his arms didn't slow him down. He hugged Shen Zichuan tightly to his chest, firm as an iron wall. Snowcrest galloped through the rain like a bolt of lightning through the stormy dark. Its hooves sped over countless puddles, throwing up a spray of water as it charged for the city gates. The guard at the top of the wall raised his lantern. Who goes there? Who's riding so late at night? Xiao Chuye pulled his cloak up to fold Shen Zichuan under it before raising his authority token. Open the gates. Supreme Marquis. The platoon commander atop the wall immediately made obeisance, then waved his hands and ordered, "Quick, open the gates." The gates opened with a deafening rumble, and Snowcrest shot through like an arrow. Night wind whipped against their cheeks. Snowcrest galloped faster and faster, while a circling gerfalcon burst out from the rain and followed closely behind. Shen Zichuan held onto Snowcrest's neck. "We can't go far. Tomorrow morning." Xiao Chuye grabbed Shen Zichuan's chin and lifted it to kiss him. Shen Zichuan was no practiced rider. Other than Xiao Chuye, he had nothing to hold onto as they raced like the wind. With one hand pressed against the galloping horse, and the other clutching Xiao Chuye for support, there was no way to look at the road in front of them. The driving rain stung his eyes as they kissed. They hadn't seen each other for 7 or 8 days. Oh my god, okay, no, I'm not looking at the art. Nope. Xiao Chuye embraced Shen Zichuan tightly with one hand, pressing him to his chest as he kissed down along his cheek to the side of his neck. Shen Zichuan's clothes were in disarray. The official's robe beneath his white fur coat tugged open. When he lifted his eyes, all he could see was the jet-black expanse of rain. Water droplets trickled along the curve of his collar, drenching his clothes and chilling his skin. He crushed Xiao Chuye's robe to his hand and gasped for breath. The rain poured harder and louder as Snowcrest ran blindly into the black. The path before them was hidden in the long, dark night, the horse like a lone boat carrying a pair of lovers on their secret rendezvous. Shen Zichuan shivered. He closed his eyes as he took Xiao Chuye in, bathed in sweat and rainwater. Xiao Chuye said nothing as the horse's hooves trod through the mud. The path was uneven. Each bump and jolt drew a gasp from Shen Zichuan's lips. Xiao Chuye, too, was sweating lightly with exertion. Spurred by the potent wine, he clung to Shen Zichuan in this wild moment of pleasure, making every rise and fall strike just the right spot. He was in high spirits after this evening, and he used his strength skillfully, leaving Shen Zichuan incapable of resistance and unable to escape. Are you satisfied now? Seeing that Shen Zichuan wanted to lean away, Xiao Chuye clasped his hand and pulled him back to enclose him in his arms. Pressed tight against him, Shen Zichuan said, Next time, make sure you get the right spot. Xiao Chuye's hand came up to stroke Shen Zichuan's earlobe, fastening an object there. He pushed aside those drenched locks and kissed it. They're on a horse. Okay, hold on. Okay, we're looking at the art. Where art. They What are they doing on this poor horse? That is the question. The the horse should just leave and let these two finish their deal. Oh my god, what? There's only like a half page after this. Okay, so they're on the horse. They did things on the horse. Then he gave him the earring. He put the earring in Shen Zichuan's ear on the horse. Shen Zichuan raised his head, and the jade earring swayed with his movement. He touched the pendant in a daze. Several times, he opened his mouth to speak, but was disrupted by a jarring step and his gasps for breath. Riding the waves of euphoria, he gazed at Xiao Chuye with a conflicting blend of understanding and incomprehension. Xiao Chuye killed off his last remaining inhibitions. He was done holding back. A warm spring day was bad news indeed. This was the season for fun. Scoundrels all liked to have fun. As long as they were together, they could stir up a wave from calm waters. Every time their eyes met, it was with impure motives. The shiver up each of their spines when they seduced each other was so strong it could shake apart their masks of decency. No one understood the ardent desire burning beneath their officials' robes. As long as they were alone, they would bear their true colors. That's the end of the book. So, okay. I should say this, Wolf, and you mentioned that's the famous horse scene. I hardly call it a spoiler. Like, for me personally, I don't really consider it a spoiler for myself, but other people would, and I understand that. But I heard about the horse scene. Only the tiniest bit. All I knew was that there was a horse scene coming at somewhere in this volume. Oh, Blue, I was so mad for knowing about it. Yeah, I can imagine. We might have even been spoiled by the same thing, which was a Kichter thumbnail. I don't know if that's what spoiled you, but there's like a Kichter thumbnail for this volume, and it's like they did what on a horse? And okay, so can I just tell you, I didn't know it was literally going to be in the last chapter of the book, the very end of the very last stream of this book. So every single time I I I cracked open this book to read on stream, I was like, is the horse scene going to be today? Like, I was like, I don't know, is the horse scene going to be today? I had no way of knowing when it was going to be. Um like, because these things just kind of come out of the blue sometimes. So I was just like, I kept anticipating it, and it literally was at the very last moment. Um, Henry, TVH, the horse scene was a draw to get me into this book. That makes sense. I can see that. But I didn't know that there was gonna be art as well. But I gotta admit, I mean, it is like a spoiler kind of, but that is like the funniest thumbnail to just see. I'd just be like, wait a minute. Uh, Excuse me? Um, Blue, I have kicked her muted and always manually search for her videos while squinting. That's a good choice. That's what you should be doing. Yeah, Elsie, so I did anticipate it till the very end. You tell me what they did on a horse. Well, they certainly did something on a horse. Um, yeah. Um, and the earring and everything. I still can't believe, like, he also delivered the earring and put it in his ear while on a horse. And I just am like, hello? Like, how do you have the ability to do, that on a horse? And how do you have the ability to put an earring in someone's ear on a horse? I don't, that one I guess is rendered less impressive, but I'm still just like, how do you do that though? Um, Henry, I get why Shenzi is entirely disarmed. Yeah. Yeah, no, and the scene was, while it was pretty vague about it, I mean, between the art and the thing about each bump and jolt, I would have known something was going on. So, um oh, Elsie, I'm sorry, but the whole scene just made me think of the illusion of consent meme. I know exactly what you're talking about. And this time it's the horse. It's like, have you asked the horse's permission? I think you were saying that earlier. Yes. Isn't there someone you forgot to ask, and it's the horse? Henry, Danmei Lube is a concept in our hearts. Yeah. Oh, Wolf, you have a friend who read the whole thing and was confused and did a double take and then realized. No, I can see that. The, see, Blue, the hardest... See, because the scene was kind of vague about it, I don't really know the extent to what they did. Maybe they did something not requiring of lube. I really don't know. Um, the the horse was having fun galloping in the rain, not knowing anything that was going on, probably. Hopefully. Yeah. But so that's volume 2. Wolf, it was the full course. I do need an explanation as to how they did that exactly. But okay, you say it was the full. Oh, vase of peonies. Oh shoot. Oh, I didn't even. No. You're right. It said he took him in. You're correct. Okay, well, um, yeah, I don't know how they pulled that off, but good job on them. Good job. And not to mention they got married earlier. Like, they just did everything in these last few chapters. Goodness. So, Wolf, thank you. You'll do a line by line again tomorrow. Okay, because those are super helpful. You will, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Well, I've got to go, but that was volume 2 of Ballad of Sword and Wine. And next Monday, we're going to get started on volume 3. So I am super excited to see where that takes us. But wow, what an ending for this volume. I love how I just, one more thing is just, I love how, like, their relationship progressed in this volume, where they got a lot, like, closer emotionally, you know, and we got even, like, you know, like the sick fic kind of thing going on and everything. So I love that. I love that for us. We've gone through so much in this volume. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I will see y'all on Monday. So have a good one. Have a good weekend. Bye.